The Chicago Bears have made multiple roster moves as they get ready for the divisional round against the Los Angeles Rams. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now by Chat Sports. My name is Harrison Graham. We will break down this news, plus an interesting storyline developing in the NFC North, so stay tuned for that. Before we get to any of it, though, guys, we're right here. We're 36 subscribers away from 153,000 here on the channel. We're bringing you free and daily Bears content. Playoff run ongoing. Let's freaking go. Hit that subscribe button right now. All right, it is officially official, as Ian Rappaport would say. TJ Edwards and Ozzie Trapillo have been placed on season-ending IR. Of course, both suffered major injuries. We wish them well in their recovery. Obviously, we hope they're ready for next season. I think with Ozzie specifically, we won't know his timeline for a little while, but wish them the best. We knew this was coming, but that, of course, did free up 2 roster spots, and both have been filled. Let's go ahead and talk about one of those 2 roster spots being filled. That is going to Braxton Jones, the veteran left tackle in the final year of his rookie deal. It kind of came out of nowhere last week when they opened his practice window. He was a full participant all week long, and now he's been activated, which means he'll be a full participant this week and be an option for the Bears if A, Theo Benedict struggles, or B, an injury were to occur to either he or Darnell Wright. Knock on wood, neither of those things happen, obviously. But this is a good luxury to have. Braxton has started 44 games. You hope with this time off the last few months, he's built that strength back up. I think early this season when he kind of won the starting left tackle job by default, he just didn't seem quite like himself. He was struggling to anchor even more than usual. He wasn't moving as well as he once was. So hopefully if he does play, if they need him to go out there, we can at least see the player we saw in his first 3 years, which is a serviceable to solid left tackle, an athletic player who's good in the run game and can at least hold his own as a pass protector. Again, earlier this season, he did not look like the version of Braxton Jones we had seen in the first 3 years of his career. But anytime you get a guy back that's almost started 50 games at left tackle, that's a good luxury to have, especially as a backup. Gives you insurance for Theo Benedict, again, in case there's an injury, excuse me, or in case he were to struggle mightily. I think he would have to struggle pretty badly for them to go to Braxton, but he's at least available and is a good swing tackle option, if nothing else. Okay, the other roster spot goes to Jalen Reeves-Maybin. These are the 2 guys that I thought would fill up the 53. He's been elevated off the practice squad a few times this year, including this past Saturday night, and actually saw some decent time on defense at linebacker. I think he played like 14 or 15 snaps, so he is now on the 53. Throughout his career, he's primarily been a core special teamer. He was an all-pro with the Lions as a special teamer in, I think, 2022. Bears brought him in earlier this season on the practice squad. They elevated him for a few games. They actually cut him. Then they brought him back last week, elevated him for the playoff game, and now he's on the active 53-man roster. Look for Tremaine Edmonds and DeMarco Jackson to be the 2 primary starters, but Jalen Reeves-Maybin is probably, or at least possibly, that 3rd guy, depending on what happens with Eamon Ogbongbemiga this week. He is in the concussion protocol. Did not play last week. Ogbongbemiga did have a 14-tackle game earlier this year, so you would think him being here longer, he'd have the inside track to being that 3rd guy. But one thing I think we know for sure is Reeves-Maybin at minimum is ahead of Ruben Hippolyte and will be playing on special teams. So we'll see who the 3rd linebacker actually is. I don't think they'll play a ton of base downs with 3 linebackers on the field, but if they do, we'll see who the 3rd guy is. And if they rotate at all with a guy like DeMarco Jackson, we'll see who they put in the game, if it's Eamon O or if it is a guy like Jalen Reeves-Maybin. So we will have to just keep an eye on that. But they needed another linebacker, and they have added one to the 53, and they've also added one to the practice squad. I didn't even know there was another Sewell. Noah Sewell and Penei Sewell's brother, Nephi Sewell, has been added to the practice squad. And guess what? He's been with the Saints since 2022, got cut earlier this year from their practice squad, so there's a Dennis Allen connection. He's played in 30 games over the past 4 seasons with New Orleans, a lot of work on special teams, but the good news is if they do need to elevate him or if he does need to play at some point down the stretch of the season, of course, you're game to game at this point. If you lose, your season's over. He knows Dennis Allen's defense. So, they've done a lot of shuffling at linebacker on the practice squad with them elevating reeves-maybin to the 53, freed up a practice squad spot as well. And so Nefi Sewell is now on the P squad and is available if they need him for whatever reason. So, didn't even know there was another Sewell, but there is, and he's actually played in the NFL for the last few years. Okay, coming up, what is going on with the Packers and Matt LaFleur? I know this is a Bears show, but this is pretty damn relevant to the Chicago Bears moving forward. And did the Bears knock LaFleur out of Green Bay? We're going to catch you up on everything coming up here in just a moment. But first, we got to tell you about our awesome sponsor. That is PrizePicks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard. But in life and on PrizePicks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops. And PrizePicks lets you take control. New feature alert. PrizePicks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. What does a PrizePicks lineup look like? Well, you pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, sacks, field goals, points, rebounds, assists in basketball, stats from other sports. It's all available. I got a 3-player lineup for this weekend. I'm taking more on Caleb Williams passing yards, more on Colston Loveland receiving yards. Those two guys have been on fire recently. And then I do like Puka Nacua to score a touchdown. Unfortunately, he's been really, really good, and the Bears secondary has struggled, so I do think he'll score. $20 lineup to win $85. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It is good to be right. Okay, what is going on with Matt LaFleur? I talked about this a little bit on 4 Verts earlier, my NFL and college football show. Go subscribe over there if you want more NFL and college football content. But we've heard even more in the last hour or so from Adam Schefter. So let's pass that along here. Schefter said on NFL Live directly, quote, "I would say this on Matt LaFleur," he says. "We said yesterday that they're trying to work out a deal with Matt LaFleur. It's almost 48 hours later. There's still no deal with Matt LaFleur. We're waiting. It should not be this hard. And by the way, let me say this. They still might work it out with Matt LaFleur. They might. They're trying, but it shouldn't be a difficult deal to do. We can do the numbers right now, crunch the math, and come up with a deal to get it done. It's ticking, and there are more openings, and there are teams waiting, so we need an answer. We haven't gotten one." And last thing on that, and to my friend Wendy, Brian Windhorst, would say, there's something going on in Green Bay. We've got to keep watching in Green Bay. Here's my conclusion. The Packers might end up trading Matt LaFleur, who has 1 year left on his deal. I think Green Bay likes Matt LaFleur, but they don't really have an owner. It's owned by the city, essentially. And they just lost to Ben Johnson twice down the stretch. And Ben Johnson's making $13 million. I'm guessing Matt LaFleur might be asking for like $15 million based on his 7-year career. Packers might say, "Hey, we'll give you $10 to $12 million on a three-year extension, something like that per year." And he might just say no. And they might kind of know that going in. And they might say, "Okay, well, let's work out a trade then," because he doesn't want to skip a year and he's under contract and he can't just get out of his deal. The Green Bay owns his rights. The Packers will probably get a lot for him. Rob Demovsky, who's covered the Packers for a long time for ESPN, said this yesterday via ESPN Milwaukee, saying it's possible that the Packers, are working on an extension they know LaFleur would not take. It makes it look like, hey, we tried, but ultimately we couldn't come to an agreement. Or does LaFleur go in there and say, "Hey, I want $16 million, talking per year," and the Packers say no? This report of LaFleur and the Packers working on a new deal, which was from Schefter's report yesterday, doesn't necessarily mean that he's the coach next year and the years after that. I think all those things are in play here. And as I said on 4 Verts, and I'll say it here, the longer this goes on, the more you wonder what other variables and what other paths this could go. So 2 questions here for me. 1, how much could Green Bay get in a trade? I think a pretty decent amount. It's a weak offensive cycle. He's been there for a long time. even if you want to say it's slipped a little bit the last few years, he's worked really well with Jordan Love. He's developed Malik Willis pretty nicely behind the scenes. He knows offense. Now, maybe there's questions about the leader of men, the culture, all that stuff. They've blown some games they shouldn't lose this season. I'm not saying he's a perfect candidate, but he's by far the most qualified offensive coach if he were to free up in this cycle. And then number 2, who would Green Bay replace him with? Because that's what I keep coming back to. Because I hear these Packers fans, get him out, get him out, get him out. And I get it, they're pissed. The Bears own you now. We flipped the script. It's okay, Packers fans, at least for now. But I just keep saying, okay, where are you turning? You promoting Jeff Hafley, who just gave up 25 points in the fourth quarter? Caleb Williams, put the bib back in Hafley's mouth as he became daddy in that game. What are you gonna do? You're just gonna Mike Tomlin's taking a year off. That's what Schefter just said on TV. He's not coaching this year. John Harbaugh, you're pivoting off 46-year-old Matt LaFleur to go to 63-year-old John Harbaugh. I like John Harbaugh. He's a hell of a coach. If I'm the Bears, I'm less concerned with John Harbaugh than I am Matt LaFleur in the NFC North. It's not a long-term solution, and he's come up short a lot in big spots recently too. Again, great coach. Most of these teams who need an opening, they would die to have John Harbaugh or Matt LaFleur. I'd rather have Matt LaFleur if I'm one of these teams. Unless my culture is just dog shit, then okay, yeah, John Harbaugh's probably a better option. You look at the openings at this point in time, you're telling me all these teams, or at least most of them, would not salivate at the opportunity to trade for Matt LaFleur, not even just hire him, trade for him. If I'm the Atlanta Falcons, I would trade for LaFleur yesterday. He's coached in their building before. Him and Matt Ryan have a relationship. I would bring him in right now. If you're a team like, what if you are the Steelers and you're like, well, we want to go offense. We've been a defensive organization forever. Let's go offense. Well, get Matt LaFleur. Hell, he could bring Malik Willis with him in free agency. That kind of seems like something that makes sense to me. If you're a team like the Giants, I know they're full steam ahead on John Harbaugh, and I don't blame them, but Matt LaFleur working with Jackson Dart, that's pretty appealing. Cam Ward, he was the offensive coordinator with the Titans. Like, all these teams would be interested in Matt LaFleur. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. And again, I would just love to know, what is Green Bay's pivot point if they don't get this deal done with LaFleur and they decide to trade him? Now, look, if they get some huge offer, get a first-round pick and a second or something, they say, you know what, we like Matt, but we don't want to pay him $15, $18, $20 million per year. We'll just take the draft capital and move on. Hey, best of luck. You get the draft capital. Okay, cool, but you still have to have a plan to replace him. So the longer this goes on, the more I'm thinking they're considering an exit ramp, and they're trying to pursue other options and trying to thread this needle of, hey, we're not going to fire LaFleur because we know we can get something for him, but we need to make it look like that we're trying to extend him, but it just doesn't work out in the end, and we end up trading him. That's what it kind of feels like it's starting to potentially turn into. I don't know if we're fully there yet. I'm not ruling out the possibility that he stays in Green Bay, but I do think by the day the percentages drop. Like tomorrow, if it's noon tomorrow and there's no new deal, I would say it's officially down to 50-50 or less. Right now, I'd still say it's more likely he's back in Green Bay. 65-35, 60-40. Another 12, 18, 24 hours goes by, though. Those percentages dip down into that 50-50 range, in my opinion. What will the Packers do with Matt LaFleur? Type E for extend him or T for trade him. I don't think they end up firing him. He's got a year left on his deal, so they're not going to do that. He's too valuable to fire. I mean, someone will trade for him, even if they didn't get a huge offer. So you guys let me know, E for extend or T for trade. My name is Harrison Graham. We will continue to monitor all things Chicago Bears. We'll be back in game mode tomorrow as the injury reports will drop, and we'll hear again from Ben Johnson as well. I know there were some comments from Sean McVay. I want to revisit those here on the show also, so subscribe, and we will see you guys soon. Bear down.